Hi everyone, and welcome to Summon Player 2. I am here with my friend Matt. Matt, say hi.
Matt, say hi. Oh, no, I should just say hi. Or I should go hi. I don't know. Whatever.
Good enough.
My name's Matt, and I just said hi.
So, Matt, what are we playing?
We are playing today, we're playing Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 5, I guess you'd say. It is the newest and greatest video game out there, I guess you'd say. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it, other than that it's very different than Metal Gear games that I've played in the past. So it's a little bit different than what I'm used to.
So, would you say this is your favorite series of all time?
Metal Gear is by far my favorite game. It's not even close. It's like everything else is like secondary, you know.
This is the series that you judge everything else by? Is that what you're saying?
No, because it's its own unique entity when it comes to a game. Like, I've always been into games. Like, I'm old. Like, don't judge Amanda by my age. She is the what are you, 13? No, Amanda's what are you, 26?
20, going to be 25 soon.
Okay, Amanda's 25. I'm 39. So I've been playing video games since I was Jesus Christ. Since Jesus Christ. No, since like Nintendo came out, I was playing ColecoVision, Atari, the whole nine. Really got into video games when I'm actually I haven't played this game in about 2 months. So like when Nintendo originally came out, one of the first games that originally came out for Nintendo was the original Metal Gear. It was like a three-quarter view, top-down three-quarter view stealth action game, and up to that point, like, pretty much video games, it was a cool, intriguing kind of thing, because up to that point, video games were essentially get to point A to point B, but in a hopping, jumping manner, or shoot shit kind of sense. And the way this game went was, you basically try to get through the game without killing anybody. It was all about being as stealthy, and just not, it wasn't the normal thing, so it just kind of did something for me. And the way the story was written, it was really cool. And ever since then, I was into it. So ever since then, it's been like, 3 games, technically 3 games on NES, and then it kind of it wasn't around for a while. And then when the original PlayStation came out, it was like the game that came out that kind of changed everything. Before then, there was no kind of 3D stealth action kind of game. It was like unique in its own sense from a graphical standpoint to gameplay standpoint, and it didn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time it was really intriguing and really engrossing, so it just really was awesome. So I was super excited. Once that hit, I was just addicted. I was hooked. It's main character Snake, man. That's what the whole game is all about. Actually, if this podcast was 13 hours long, it would still take me 13 podcasts of 13-hour-long podcasts to explain the mythology behind this game. So the premise of this game, I'll give you the whole quick rundown of the premise of the game. Okay. The first game that came out was the original Metal Gear, which was your Solid Snake. Okay, and you're pitted, and this is the Nintendo one. You're pitted to go infiltrate a place called Zanzibar Land, and you're supposed to stop a thing called Metal Gear, which is like a robotic tank, a bipedal robotic tank, and you go in it, and throughout then you meet all kinds of kooky characters and all kinds of stuff like that, but then you find out you're basically battling your father. Your father is Snake, not Solid Snake, his big boss, or Snake, and he is basically who you're fighting. Now, what you're doing while you're fighting, or not while you're fighting, but what you're actually doing is you're battling a clone of yourself. So, Snake, Solid Snake, who is the young person, let's put it that way to make it easy, is the genetic offspring of Snake, who was born, and both of you were born in like test tubes and stuff like that, based off genetic material of your father. So you're born of a surrogate mom from genetic material of the mother and father. So you're going to fight him, and that's the first game. And the second game, pretty much. And then the new ones, which are the difference between Solid Snake or Metal Gear and Metal Gear Solid, I should say. It's very kind of skipping information. The Nintendo ones are Metal Gear. Those are the games. The ones that come out after, like this, are Metal Gear Solid. And you're pretty much just fighting the army that your father started. The original Metal Gear, you are fighting your dad. In the second one, I believe you're still fighting your dad. And those are one on Nintendo. In the third one, which would be the one that originally debuted on PlayStation, which would be Metal Gear Solid, you're fighting a Metal Gear again. You're going in, infiltrating a base to stop Metal Gears. But in this one, you're fighting your twin brother, who was
Not
like
your clone, your twin brother.
No, he's your clone.
Oh, okay.
He's
Right.
he's the shitty clone version of you. Like, you ever see Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yes.
Yeah, you're Arnold Schwarzenegger and he's Danny DeVito. So
Okay.
I mean, not that different, but
Yeah.
you're fighting him, who's your twin brother, and he was just basically raised like when they actually did the genetic makeup thing to make you exist. They didn't make one; they made a bunch of them to try to find the best warrior they possibly could. So there was a couple other ones throughout there, and that is pretty much one. You fight him, but he's also fighting with a pseudo army that is the army your father started. And then in the second one, the director, who's known to be really kooky, he like started the game. He started the game like you're gonna play like the main character, but then like all of a sudden it cuts to like something happens, and then 2 years later, and you play as some random character you've never seen before, and you play him the whole fucking game. So you're not even playing the main character, which the game is fucking named after, because the director has to be smarter than everybody else. But the other character, that Snake Eye's like an ancillary character. And the second game is basically the first game, but in a different environment. So you're in a computer program the whole time. That's how convoluted this game is. Okay.
But you love it anyway.
Oh, it's so fantastic. Because if you play it and pay attention, it all makes sense. And then the third game is actually the best game out of all of them, which is actually you go back. Like those games, like Metal Gear and Nintendo is like 1980 something to 1989. And then Metal Gear Solid 1 was like 1999 or 2000. Metal Gear Solid 2 is like 2010 or 2012. And then Metal Gear Solid 3 is 1960. So you go back in time, you're actually find the origin of your father, who you're originally the genetic code of. The whole game is just based in the 60s. So you're basically still look like the same character, but it's the dad, and you're just doing all the shit that made him into the guy he is.
Oh, okay.
And then number 4, it's like way in the future, and the main character from the new ones is really old, but he wears this suit that helps him do shit. Anyway, this game is basically right before the first one that came out for Nintendo.
Okay.
So what you're doing is, in the original Nintendo game, you're fighting your father, who started this kind of mercenary militia and started this his own country and started like trying to take over the world. Basically, you're that guy building that militia, trying to get that country to start taking over the world. So it's a really weird kind of turn of events that you actually like try to, I don't know. When you try to talk about it out loud, it's
No, I get it. I mean, something that's been around for so long and so complicated, it's hard to sum up in a short time.
But the new one, the reason why this one is a little bit harder than games in the past for me is that it's super wide open, and you can do anything in this game at all. Like, it's more RPG-ish.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot more of that.
The other
lately.
one is very on rails.
Yeah.
Even though you could do a bunch of stuff and like you could do a lot of things outside the typical on rails kind of adventure game, it was still linear. There's only so much you could do outside the storyline.
Right.
Whereas this one, it's so in depth. I'm having actually a hard time wrapping myself around it. Like I'm so into the idea of the game. Like the game means so much to me from growing up to even in adulthood playing it and loving it that there's no way in hell I'm not gonna play and beat this fucking game because I just have to play and beat it. But in the other ones, you'd basically travel from area to area and kind of like the original Legend of Zelda is like you go from basically stage to stage, board to board, room to room. The games are essentially that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just more in depth.
So there's a lot more choice than
Oh my God.
before? Yeah.
It's not just a lot more choice than before. It's a lot more choice than you've ever been given in a third-person open-world game in ever in the history of games.
I know you said before you're not really like an RPG fan. So does this whole open world thing, does that include that you're not really an open world person, or is it?
I like
different?
open world games in that I like Grand Theft Auto.
Right.
Basically, kind of do a bunch of recon. But to answer your question, it's which was what that is it better or worse that it's more RPG? Is that what you asked?
For you personally, because I know
Worse,
that you're
worse, but at the same time, I'm enjoying the struggle, I guess you would say, because RPGs to me are like there's so much involved in them, trying to figure out specific portions of the game. Like to me, the problem I have usually with RPGs is that they are you have to do this one thing, to do this one thing, to find these things, to find this thing, to talk to this person, to unlock an area, to get a key, to talk to a guide, to go to the next place. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's too much to deal with. Like, I like nice, concise. I like my gaming experience with games typically to last anywhere between 10 to 25 hours from start to finish.
You don't want...
This game is going to take me 50 to 100 hours, and to me that
Yeah.
annoys me. Like, it's like some people like a really big, thick, long book. Some people like 3-hour movies. I'm not that person. So when you have games like this, I typically would play a game like this for a couple hours and go, nope. But since my love of the franchise is so tattooed, I have no option other than to play the game. Like,
You've been playing this series for how long now? You can't stop now.
yeah, I've been playing
Yeah.
for 30 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's like I can't not do it. They've got me. I'm basically a crack addict, and they've got me. So at this point, I'm just kind of at their mercy. So
Yeah. So, since it's so open world, is there an option to, like, customize your eye patch and dye your horse's hair?
you probably could.
What about you makes this game perfect for you?
Here's the thing, like the reason, and I think it's pretty easy to see. The reason why I don't like RPGs is because I like to be told a specific story. I like to be involved in the story, but more than just explaining the whole entire story to myself, I like to be involved in a really good story. I think a lot of times RPGs are kind of you are the story. I like a good cutscene in a video game, whereas like RPGs is more like you're just creating the whole story yourself. I'm saying for a game to really do it for me, Metal Gear, even though the storyline, the history, the whole nine is really kind of convoluted and kind of whatever, it just works for me. Same thing for like BioShock. BioShock worked for me because there was a story there and there was a hook.
Yeah.
It was a great hook. Uncharted would be another one. I love Uncharted games on PlayStation because there is a crazy awesome story to be told there. So I don't just need just a story for the sake of story. It has to be done right. It has to be written well. You know what I mean? It has to basically, you read a book, the first chapter or two if you're really going to like the book. Rarely is there a book that you force yourself halfway through and then you get into it. There's something about it, the way it's written, the way it's done. It works for you, and that's kind of the same thing with games.
I wonder if, like, since so many things are becoming more open world and you could do so much more, I wonder if it's just becoming too complicated at times.
I don't think so, though. Is it getting too complicated? Is this game getting too complicated for me to feel comfortable? Yes. Is it getting too complicated? No. Where I think that it jumps the shark is you take a. What if they made like, they took Demon Souls and just made that a hack and slash game and took away all the RPG elements? That might appeal to a certain crowd. It might even appeal to me to where I can't get into Demon Souls. But why would you do that to Demon Souls?
Yeah.
The same way, why would you... I understand the evolution. I understand what they're going for here. All the games have added little more elements to them. Like the last one, there was a lot more... There was more to it. But it still had that same core system. This one is just... Each one has added a little bit more. The first one, you know what I mean? You had your 2 windows of stuff, but there was only 3/4 top view. You couldn't do like kind of this free-flowing third-person view. You only had that view right there. That's the only view you ever got in the game. That was actually the way it was in the first 2.5. And they evolved it to let you have a free-flowing camera. Then in the first one, you couldn't... What couldn't you do? There's a bunch of things you just couldn't do in the first one, like that they added. You couldn't hang off ledges. In the first one, they added. Well, that's fine. You're adding all that stuff, but the depth of detail and of things they've done to this one, it's like, let's say from 1 to 2 was a 10% or 20% change of depth, and then from 2 to 3 was a 25% change. From 3 to 4 was a 20% change. Well, from 4 to 5 it was a 250% change.
But I think it says a lot that you're still giving it a try. Even though you're saying it's different, it shows how much you love Metal Gear.
Oh my god, I love it. So much. The dumbest thing ever.
Is there anything else you want to add about it, or?
No.
Alright.
That was a resounding ending right there, wasn't it? Yeah. I'm a wordsmith.
No. Period.
No.